Claire Pearsall, former Conservative government advisor in the Home Office, is here. I know you hate it when I mention that, given we're talking mostly today, yesterday, about this pledge from Nigel Farage to deport 600,000 illegal migrants if he wins power. We spoke to Richard Tyson the last half hour, and he's sort of pretty confident they're going to be able to do what they're going to do. They're going to get the plans. There's going to be more detail. Yeah, it's going to cost money. They may not be able to achieve everything they want to achieve, but they're going to make a bloody good try of it. That's kind of where the British people are, isn't it?
And it was quite interesting. Your caller Jay, who was on just recently, you could sense the sort of resignation in his voice by saying, it's not perfect what's on offer, but I think we need to give them a chance because what else have we got? And you sense that now when you talk to people in the street, is they're really fed up with what's going on currently. They don't know quite if reform are the answer, but at least they are coming out with something that looks like an answer.
But they're more convincing than your lot, who failed again and again, and an awful lot of the big rise in not just illegal immigration, but also legal migration off the scale rocket boosters under it. You know, Elon Musk, SpaceX, rocket boosters underneath. Boris Johnson again, unforgivable what he did. But also, I don't think anyone voted for Labour going, I think they'll deal with the migration issue.
Oh, no,
of course not. It's not in their hearts, not in their soul. It wasn't. They said they'd smash the gangs. No one thought they were going to do that. They're busy not doing it. They, by the way, are about to be scuppered by the possible fall imminently of the latest French government. The next French Prime Minister is going to have a vote of confidence, probably, let's face it, a vote of no confidence in him. Puts big question marks once again over Emmanuel Macron's ability to run his country as president. And, of course, their ability of the French Parliament to change the law to allow the French to actually go into French waters and stop the boats. They say, we have not been able to do it. It is against the law. We will change the law. But now we will not have a Prime Minister. We cannot do it. I'm paraphrasing. But roughly, that's what they... I need another baguette. And that's roughly what they've been saying, OK? So if they can't change the law, they've predicated everything on, we've done this lovely deal with the French. They're going to change the law. Well, if they're not going to change the law...
they're going to
get the deal.
This is your problem, is that Keir Starmer has cozied up to Emmanuel Macron, who he thought was going to be there for some time. In French politics, you are never going to be there for a long time. You only have to look at the amount of elections they have and how many governments
Well, presidents last a long time. They've got fixed term.
They do, but look at the government around him.
Yeah.
So you aren't going to have that supporter base in there. And you only have to look at what is going on across Europe, at the difference in voting intentions in different countries now, moving more and more to right of centre parties.
Well, also sensible governments, and so far Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, has been pretty sensible, far more than I'd expected.
Yes.
Closing some of the routes in for pretend asylum seekers at the German border, deportations. He seems to have got to grips with this. He's realised, well, if we don't do it, we're going to lose the election, and then the AfD, Alternative for Deutschland, will be in. It's as simple as that. And Labour, the Tories pretend they've got the message, but they don't really believe the message. And that's the thing that people have with Nigel Farage. Whether people love him or hate him or trust him or not, they know that he actually means it. He's not been saying this stuff for effect all these years.
No, that's right. But you would look, Greece have now suspended all asylum applicants coming over on small boats from the Mediterranean. So it can be done. There needs to be a
Meloni in Italy is very strong on this.
You have to be able to look at what your country needs, what you need to do for your citizens above
But uniquely
else.
When we do it, we're a terrible country. I mean, again, they got the left, you got, the guests who think that the Human Rights Act is when human rights began in this country. No, the Human Rights Act was a British Act of Parliament which incorporated these international human rights, most of which came about because of us. By the way, you're welcome, Europe, because you didn't have any. Half of Europe has been ruled under despotic, tyrannical regimes, under fascist dictators. I mean, Spain, Portugal, in my lifetime, Soviet Union. I mean, our forebears, saved Europe from the Nazis. I mean, we've had human rights all that time. We don't need the EU. We don't need the Human Rights Act. We don't need the International Convention on Refugees. We don't need any of that for us to be a good country and to have the rule of law and fair play. We've managed that on our own without any of those things. We gave that stuff to the world.
But I think people in this country also need to stop talking down what we are good or not good at. And I think that you get this kind of rhetoric that, oh, we're a bad country because we're not doing this, that mainly comes from those lefty dinner party
who don't like our
in
country.
Islington. Absolutely. So I don't think it necessarily comes from the outside. I think it comes from the inside.
They're idiots who think we're the only country ever had an empire, never did anything wrong. I mean, they're idiots.
They're
just idiots.
But they're loud, and I think that we need to sort of
But there are fewer of them than there are of the rest of us who are sensible. And the key thing about them is we know they don't represent the people. Again, when I put the question to Richard Tyson and again to Caller a few moments ago about, well, everyone's going to be strong on this immigration issue, and then when you see the images, it's like let's send food banks also, or let's have welfare, welfare limits, and then you see the woman at the food bank on the BBC 6 o'clock news saying, I can't feed my kid, I've had to miss a meal. Inevitably, it's a woman who's the size of a house who needs to miss quite a few meals, frankly. That's a sidebar, but you'd think they'd find one. You'd think they'd find one woman who looked like she'd actually ever missed a meal. They never do, weirdly. They're too poor to be thin. That's another argument I've never understood, but there we are. But that's when everyone gives in, because they get, oh no, now I'm a bad person, the bleeding hearts take over. But the British people are very clear. Do you remember back in 2015 when we had the Syrian civil war, and it was really, really nasty, and we had loads of Syrian refugees fleeing to Britain, to Europe, and we had the awful stuff, that 2-year-old boy, Alan Kurdi, who was dead on a beach.
Yeah.
It was a stage photograph. His body wasn't found there. They literally moved. I mean, that's how horrific these people are. They would actually, thousands of little Syrian 2-year-old boys had been killed in Syria, but we didn't see them on a beach, so it didn't plug at our heartstrings. So suddenly we cared about Syrian children dying out of the blue because it affects us, so we then care about it. It tells you quite a lot about the morality of the public on these issues. And that was the point when Angela Merkel, the German Chancellor, they said, well, we'll take everyone from Syria. And then we saw, million-plus people marching across Europe to Germany and to other countries. Every country that took a load of Syrian people has regretted it. A lot of them weren't Syrian, they were pretending to be Syrian. The unemployment rate, criminality rate, absolutely lack of cultural cohesion, lack of integration. It's been an absolute disaster for every country that took a lot of Syrian or claimed to be Syrian refugees. David Cameron at the time was absolutely vilified by most of the media, certainly the BBC and everyone else, for agreeing to take only 25,000 Syrian refugees, only from camps. And that was over 5 years, so only 5,000 a year. Absolutely vilified. When they did polling on it, the public were like, we either think that's the right amount or too many.
Yeah.
Now, those are people who shout loud, and the commentators, the BBC and Sky and ITV and everyone else finds, and the Guardian and the Times, everyone else, they shout loud on this stuff, but they do not represent the British people.
No, they don't. And I think that the British people are genuinely fair-minded. They don't want people to die unnecessarily. They have a conscience, but what they also want is for their own feelings and needs to be taken into account. And that's where the government has zero empathy for them.
And that's also where the cultural impact of illegal migration and legal migration comes in. I mean, look, we're constantly told, legal migration has been really good for the economy. Again, this just simply, the proof is quite clear that is not the case. But we've got unemployment, according to a left-wing think tank, the Resolution Foundation. The guy who used to run that, Torsten Bell, is now advising Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor. So watch out there, everybody. And as Mike pointed out earlier, was responsible for the Edstone, that brilliant 2050 campaign.
Yes.
I still can't get over the fact that Ed Miliband was Labour leader and could possibly have been elected Prime Minister of this country. Imagine, that's how, you think our politics is mad now. That's how mad it was then. But unemployment is set to reach 5%. That's the highest level since COVID. And that's the people claiming unemployment, not all the other people who are on sickness benefits and claiming to have anxiety on a Monday morning. Our borrowing costs have surged close to a 27-year high. Our cost of borrowing are higher than Italy and Greece's cost of borrowing. As Caller pointed out earlier, £2 billion a week of our taxpayers' money goes to pay the interest on the debt, just the interest on the debt, not even the debt off. The experts have called this a moron premium under Rachel Reeves. We've got the energy price gap. In October, annual prices going up to £35 for the average household to £1,755 a year. I mean, we were told, again, that would go down by £300. We've got inflation going back up to 4.2%. I mean, nothing is going in the right direction.
I think that there were some of us who thought right from the start that Labour didn't really have a secure economic plan.
No.
I do remember sort of 12 months ago, you and I probably spoke about it.
I think we spoke about nothing else for about 2 months before the election.
Yes, quite possibly. I think that there are so many problems. The unemployment rate in this country is shocking. Do we have enough jobs for people? Arguably, yes, we do. There's a lot of inactive people who could be getting off their sofas and actually going out and getting a job. But then we also have the pressure on businesses with national insurance contribution increases, with minimum wage and the thresholds and things like that. So you're not encouraging businesses to take on new startups.
Well, you're making it financially impossible for them to. I mean, it's just, they don't need to be encouraged. It's very simple. What is the extra value of this extra person I take on, and what is their contribution to my business? And it's a simple mathematical equation.
It is, and that's where you're going to see a lot of companies start to shed staff, move out of the United Kingdom, or close down entirely. And that's a real shame. We're going to see some really good small businesses being lost because of this.
And who gets hurt, as always, it's the people at the bottom who Labour claim to care about. Well, they used to care about working people. Now they're just going to put everyone on the payroll. No, once everyone's on benefits and 6 people in the corner are going to be paying the taxes to pay for it all, it'll all be fine.
But they can't define what a working person is. I love it when they struggle with
they've got savings. I can't keep track. I mean,
no,
it's genuinely...
it changes. The definition, the sort of dictionary definition of it changes depending on which minister is out on which day.
Yeah, I mean, again, it is utterly bizarre. If you're not rewarding the people who are doing what they're called the strivers, if you're not making it worthwhile for people to set up a business or go out to work every day, and you're rewarding people who are doing nothing, things are probably not going to work out too well. But no, don't worry. We'll just import some more people and put taxes up, and everything will be fine as usual.